Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, we're going to create a Valentine's Day themed tumbler using some dark colors. I wanted to do this because I know everybody is doing the light, bright pinks and reds and maybe the softer tones, but I want to go dark. So that sounded bad. I want to go dark. Anyway, so these, I believe, is from our fall collection with Gracefully Created. I'm not sure exactly when we did these. I lose track of time. But I try to use florals that can be very versatile. I try not to get florals that have, you know, elements like snowflakes or bells or, you know, seasonal things in them, because I want to be able to use them all year round. I'm horrible about buying things right when last minute like, oh my gosh, I bought a lot of stuff for Christmas because I had such great ideas in my head, but by the time I actually got them, everybody was working on something else. So all of those things went into my binder, and I probably won't use them next year because then there will be new things that I do the same thing. It's horrible. I'm terrible with my time. So anyway, I like to use designs or florals that can be used all year round, and I want to show you how I can do that with these. Anyway, I'm talking too much. It's been a while since I recorded a tutorial. So I'm going to use a 32-ounce prepped plump from TIPSY Magnolia. It's really good to have these prepped plumps on hand. Worst case scenario, you can just spray paint over top of it if you do have to use a different color. But white and black are very versatile bases. So, I mean, we are going to use Passion from Chase Ray Creations, and normally I would try to pick a base that matches the glitter very close, but you can see our colors here. This is actually a deep green, and we have the dark blues and black in this, so having a black base is going to coordinate with this very well, even if it doesn't perfectly match our glitter. So if there's any little spots that are peeking through, it's just going to go with the whole vibe. So it's really great to have the prepped on hands, because if it's cold outside, and right now it's actually dark outside here, I don't want to go out there and spray paint when it's dark and 30 degrees and there's still a little bit of snow on the ground. So I grabbed my black 32-ounce prepped plump, and we're going to be able to jump right in. So I have my glove on because I'm about to mix a little extra incorporated epoxy. And then we will be back to add on our glitter. Okay, so I have my respirator on, and I'm sorry if y'all can't hear me really well. I'm trying to talk very close to my camera. My voice is a little raspy because I've had another cold the last couple of weeks. Or not the last couple of weeks, but the last week. So hopefully you can understand me really well. But using epoxy is my favorite method for applying glitter. It really grabs a hold of the glitter. So when you brush the excess off after it's dried, you don't have glitter moving around when you try to do your first coat of epoxy. You just need a very thin coat. I'm not going to glitter the bottom because, actually, yes, I am going to glitter the bottom because we're using vinyl for our Peekaboo. If I were to be, if I was using spray paint for our Peekaboo, then I would not be glittering the bottom because it makes it, the sanding process and everything, so much easier, but we're going to use vinyl, so it's only going to come down to here. Okay. Oh yeah. And really, if you're using a good quality glitter like this, you're not going to see a ton of what is underneath anyway. But again, if there's any black peeking through, it's just going to go with the theme. Just rolling it in to flatten out the glitter a little bit and try to pick up any of those smaller pieces. Oops, made a mess. Once it's dry, I'll brush off the excess, and then we're going to add 2 coats of epoxy on this. I will sand very lightly in between with my palm sander. That way I can get a very smooth surface to add on our vinyl. We're going to head over to Cricut in the meantime and create our template. We'll be back. Okay, I'm going to try to make this super simple for y'all. I have 2 different options for this one. We're going to use the offset, but I will show you how to use the grid style because it will be a little bit easier. So we're going to do that first. That way we can just delete it. Now you're going to come over here to shapes. And this goes for any style or any shape tumbler, of course, except for those that you need a curve to. So any of your straight tumblers, you can use the same pattern because it doesn't matter which way you push or pull these hearts around. They're still going to keep, you know, mostly their shape. So we're going to select our square, and standard for me with a couple of coats of epoxy and some glitter underneath is 9.65 wide and 10.5 high. Okay, we're going to send that to the back. And for this one, we actually need to remove the edge over here. It's 1 row too wide, but you could, if you wanted, you could pull that in and have a little bit taller hearts. So we'll just do that. Now you want to make sure that you pull your hearts inside the dimensions of your tumbler, and you want to leave enough space on the edges on this side and on this side. That would be the same space as what's in between our hearts. So we're going to pull this over just a tad bit. That's about right. And then I want to keep it away from the top and the bottom rim. Okay. So we're going to keep it about like that. And now we want our Cricut to cut the outer edges of our vinyl as well. So we're going to highlight both of these and attach. Now this is going to cut as one whole image. It's going to cut all of our hearts out, and it's going to cut a border for us that will be ready to apply to our tumbler. So now that I've shown you that one, we have the dimensions of our tumbler still here, and I'm going to pull over the one that we're using. Now this one is a little different. We're going to have a little bit of overhang here. We're going to pull this all the way over to the edge. Let me unlock the dimensions of our hearts. Let's pull this up to the top a bit. This down to the bottom. And I'll pull this over just a hair because when we slice, this portion of the heart is going to come over here on this side. We're going to grab this Move it right on over here. Okay. And then once we do that, let's get rid of these extras. Whoop, wrong one. Highlight. I'm gonna slice that again. So these cut in on that side, and then we're going to delete these. Now if you want to make sure that it's going to line up, just duplicate this, pull it over here to the side. And we can see that that's going to line up great once we wrap it around our tumbler. Hit make. And now we're just going to cut our stencil out of our vinyl. Okay, so now that we have our template cut, I have sanded our tumbler extra smooth so there's no lumps or bumps that's going to show underneath our vinyl. And we're going to try to apply this using some Dawn Power Wash. This should make it very easy to move this around and line up without damaging our vinyl if we get it crooked or anything like that. So I'm going to carefully remove it from here, trying not to mess up any of our little hearts because we can use those on something else later on. Just going to gently pull it off here. I've done this. I applied a vinyl wrap on a tumbler a long time ago, so it's about time that we do this again. And it's hard to do this on every one of them because if you have designs that are stencils that aren't whole like this, then of course you can't do it this way. And most of my Peekaboos are like floral elements and things like that, so I'm unable to do this, but we're gonna give it a shot this time. So what I would do is take the Dawn Power Wash and I'm just going to spray my tumbler. I'm gonna rub this all over. Now if you want, you can have some water over to the side just in case you need to dampen it just a little bit. But we're going to make sure we get all these areas so our vinyl is not going to stick. We don't want it to stick. Not at first, at least. And we're going to take our vinyl, pop it on here like so, and just wrap it around. Now your vinyl will move freely and you'll be able to move it around and get your sections to line up without damaging anything. I do need a little bit of water. Let me grab some. So you might need to add some water on here to make it a little slick. That way it moves around a little bit more. And now this won't affect the stickiness of your vinyl. Once this dries, you'll have a really good, the adhesive will stick to your tumbler. So once we have that on there, we can move this around. That way we can get our stencil to line up just like that. being careful so we're not messing up any of our hearts. And it looks like I didn't move over a couple of my edges here. Look at that. Whoops. That's okay, we'll trim it out with the craft blade. Okay, so once you have it in place and you like the way that things are lined up, then you'll want to start drying things off. So I'm going to use my towel and just wrap it up, my paper towel. Gonna dab that, kind of push out any water and soap out from underneath. And then we can take our squeegee and get the rest. Now I am going to take my heat gun and dry this up just a bit more, and I will mold my vinyl to the edge of the bottom of the tumbler. That way we get a really clean trim whenever we trim off that excess. I'm not applying too much heat, and as these pieces kind of pop up on me, I'm just pushing them down. I'm just pulling it around the edge. I don't need it to be perfect. I just want it to lay flat so that when we do use our vinyl trimmer, it gets a nice clean edge. Okay, so now that we have everything nice and smooth, I'm going to allow this to sit for a few hours. That way it does completely dry. I will then go over it, just wash off with water to get any of the excess suds off of it so it doesn't repel my epoxy. And then I'm going to trim out those little corner pieces of heart that I forgot to cut out in Design Space. We'll be back to trim the edge. Okay, so I have my vinyl trimmer from KELLBELL Customs, and I have fixed my seam where these couple of little places didn't cut. and this is completely dry. So that worked out really well. I'm going to, this is on the lowest setting, and I'm just going to put some pressure. You want to push your tumbler down so that you get this even all the way around. And then put just a little bit, but not too much, pressure against your blade so you get a clean cut all the way around your tumbler. And there we go. And I do believe that I'm going to take this around the top rim, so the bottom and the top are the same. So we got the same distance on both ends. Alright, so now that our ends are trimmed and our vinyl is on, I'm going to put a coat of epoxy on this before we apply our decals, and we'll be back. Okay, here is our beautiful tumbler. Look at how good that matches. It's going to match our florals really well. It's showing up a little bit better on camera now under the epoxy, but you can see kind of like the orange shift over here and then our pink over here. Definitely looks a little bit brighter in person, but anyway, it'll show up in our final video, I'm sure of that, with the natural light outside. So I have all of our elements cut out, and I really want to use this as the center point on the tumbler. So I'm going to go to the back side here where my seam is. Although you really can't see it all that much, I'm still going to put my largest floral over the back where the seam. So I'm going to flip it this way, stand this straight up, and we're going to go ahead and put this one on because I'm going to use it as my center point and put the rest of the florals around it. And normally I would cut the center of this out, but I did want to keep that in because I'm going to put my vinyl wording directly on top of this. I can do that as long as it's not going to overlap any of these edges. So I'm leaving that center in there. As long as it works out really good. When I create these element sheets for Gracefully Created, and I do make them for Southern Belle Glitter too, whenever I create them, the very first thing I do is create a template for either a 24-ounce plump or a 32-ounce plump, and I will use that as my base to size all of the florals. That way, whenever I do, or when they do get printed, I know that there's at least 1 to 2 ways to map them out without altering any of them. That's really pretty. I'm sorry if this tutorial feels a little bit all over the place. To me, it feels like I'm all over the place. It's so crazy when I finally get a chance to make some without being on camera and without talking to you guys in my own little world. I almost forget how to talk to people while I'm making stuff. I made a few gifts for Christmas, and now I'm just I'm out of my groove. I'm going to line that up right there with the bottom of our vinyl. Look, I got new squeegees. This is actually a 3-pack, and I like these. I like these better. I like having different sizes. These florals are so pretty. I cannot wait for spring. I was ready for winter this time, or fall. I'm never ready for winter, but I was ready for fall because I was just done with the heat. The last bit of summer, I had spent so much time in the garden. It didn't do as great as what it has the past couple of years. And I think it was like that for everybody. I got a ridiculous amount of cucumbers, and that was about it. But I spent so much time out there working on it, trying to get everything to grow right, that by the end of the summer, I was just done. I really wish I wouldn't have wished it away. I can't wait for it to come back. These flowers just make me think of being able to go outside and plant flowers and work in my garden again. I'm happy with that. Look how pretty! Okay, so now I gotta figure out what color vinyl I'm gonna use for this and what my decal is gonna be. So we'll be back once I get that figured out. Okay, so I didn't find a decal that I loved, so I made one. I'll have this font listed down below for y'all, but I also created a PNG, so that will be available for y'all too. Let's get this mess out of the way. I'm using my favorite textured metallic TECKWRAP gold, and then this is the bubble free chrome, I believe, in pink. That almost went bad. Okay. That's about right. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Okay. All right, guys, here is our finished tumbler.
Now I think we definitely should have put some white in behind our metallic just to make our decal stand out better, and I feel like that would have kind of set it apart from the background and our glitter, because it definitely fades into the glitter back there. So it didn't quite turn out as I anticipated, but I do think that those flowers are beautiful, or a beautiful combination with the glitter and the vinyl in the background. I hope that y'all have enjoyed this tutorial, even if you aren't fully in love with the tumbler like me, that you have some nice takeaways from it. These files will be available either on Creative Fabrica, or I will have them linked down below for y'all for free. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. All materials I have used will be down in the description with coupon codes. That is all for today. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.